What is up, my veggies? My name is VTR, and welcome back to another movie review. And today we are going to be reviewing All Hallows Eve as part of VTR's Creepy Frights. Now, you may be wondering why the heck am I reviewing this now? If you didn't already know, the sequel to Terrifier is coming out soon. I know it's already premiered at a film festival or whatever, but I will be getting it. I'll be going. Surprisingly, it is getting shown theatrically here, so I will be going to see that when it comes out. So I'm trying to get through the All Hallows Eve series, or the Terrifier series, or whatever you want to call it. But I wanted to jump here first because this was Art the Clown's first appearance. Apparently, he might have been in a short film or something before this came out. But anyway, All Hallows Eve is a anthology horror film, which is one of the oddest anthology horror films I have ever seen. One of my favorite horror movies of all time is Trick or Treat, an anthology horror film, which I'm also seeing on the big screen here in I think actually this week, I think. But this movie was definitely a lot of interesting things. What is this movie about? Let me read off the synopsis. I'm going to try to do this from now on. A babysitter finds a tape with three tales of terror on it, all linked to a mysterious all linked to a murderous clown, which is Art the Clown, who's... I didn't actually think... I thought All Hallows Eve was just like terrifying. He's in one of the stories. I didn't think it was kind of like he was like the combining factor. When you get to the anthology part of this movie, the stories really feel weird and all over the place, and especially with how they're formatted and just the weirdness of it all. Like, it's a different anthology film. It's like, it reminds me of the first Creep Show, but just not done a little more. Say, like, the first Creep Show is like a smooth and like you and smooth and you. This is this movie is just really odd to me, the way this movie is done, and I didn't hate it, but I don't necessarily think I can say it was good, to be honest. Like, it was an interesting watch. It shows its budget. Like, you can see, even though there is some alright looking effects in this and some makeup and stuff, but it obviously does show its small budget, especially with some of the acting and just some of the effects. You definitely see this movie's budget, and that's really something that's just not something I really wish a lot of lower budget movies can hide, that they're low budget with, like, interesting characters and interesting developments. This movie really doesn't do that. Now, is there any scenes of intensity or anything like that? Yeah, I guess you could say there is a few, but like, this movie literally is just odd at points, in my opinion. I think this movie has some of the weirdest decisions and just oddest pacing I've ever seen. It's really weird how this movie they go about this movie, and let's talk about Art the Clown. Art the Clown is a terrifying, constantly horror icon now at this point. And the final anthology story, not counting the stuff that's linking them all together with the babysitter watching the tape, the last one that's on the tape that they watch, is definitely probably the scariest part of it. And I do think actually some of that does carry over to the actual Terrifier movie. And this movie, though, is freaky, and it does a really good job at being freaky. At some points, there's this whole little segment of one of the anthology stories, about this alien, and this chick's being chased by an alien in a house, and I'm like, you literally could have replaced this with anything. The only reason it's an alien is because her cell phone and all the tech and electricity gets jammed or whatever. Like, she can't start her car, she can't call anybody or anything like that. But I feel like you could have done this with anything and it didn't have to be an alien. And then there's this other one where this lady gets kidnapped and down here with all these other girls that are chained up, and then there's I don't even know how to describe what happens in that. It's weird. And the last final one is like this lady who's going through trying to get somewhere, and then she stops at a gas station, and Art the Clown's there, and craziness ensues from there. And that's the best part of the movie, in my opinion, there. The movie, though, does... It's interesting. It's very interesting where they try to take this movie, and it's also really odd where they try to take this movie. But I like where they go with some of the things. Then sometimes it's dumbed down with just bad acting, not super great effects, but there are a lot of good effects. The effects are very hit or miss in this. And I will say, I'm not... minor spoilers here. Horror movies get an extra plus for me when they have the guts to kill a kid. And this movie does that. So definitely... I mean, the movie's got the guts to do that. Most of the time I'm like, dang, okay. Now, this movie does definitely... it deserves the credit for being like the basis of Art the Clown. But I'm very much just super... I'm interested to see what other things going into Terrifier and Terrifier 2 can be done with that clown. That's the whole thing that really started this quote-unquote series, I guess, now, because you got 2 Hallows Eve movies, and you got the other movie, the 2 Terrifier movies now. This movie is just really interesting, how they go about what they... I don't know. It's an interesting watch. I didn't love it. I can't even say it's a good movie, but I really do have to say I recommend it. I very much recommend giving this movie a watch. I do very much recommend giving it a watch if you have not seen it. Personally, okay, let's go with the critics' reviews first. So, surprisingly, there's only one critic review on here on Rotten Tomatoes, and so it doesn't have a critic score. But before I get to the... I actually want to look at that review, and it is a negative review. It is a negative review, I will say that. And audiences give it a 33%, which I cannot disagree with that. It is not a good movie. It's not horrible, but it like literally... it gets... there's some high points in this movie, but it gets buggered down. Is that the right word? It gets knocked down, I guess I'll say that. Knocked down by so many negatives, which the movie just doesn't know how to handle some of these things, which stinks, because the movie has some great potential to be something really interesting, and it does play with your expectations a little bit, but it doesn't go exactly in any interesting way. It's a weaker anthology film. I will have to say that. It is a weak anthology film, and it does suck to have to say those things about this movie. It really does. But it's a weak anthology film. That's really all that can be said about it. But what do you guys think? Have you seen All Hallows Eve? What do you guys think? Would you watch this? Have you seen it? What do you think of it? But that's all I got to say for this review, guys. Real quick, a couple things to say real quick. We do... I didn't get my rating. My rating, I'll have to bugger it with a 2.5 out of 5. Bugger? Why do I keep saying that? 2.5. Another thing, I did recently rewatch the Final Wrong Turn, the reboot, so I will be reviewing that soon. So don't. And also, I know I keep on forgetting about it, and as it keeps on slipping my mind, I do need to finish Sleepaway Camp, which I will review the final Sleepaway Camp, and maybe I'll hunt down a version of the 4th movie maybe I'll review that. Who knows? But I hope you guys enjoy this movie review. and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!